Hey guys, what is up? My name is Desiree and this is Criminally Focused. Whether you're new to my channel or you're a returning OG, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I truly appreciate your support and I'm happy that you found me. On this channel, we talk about criminal investigations and missing people. And my overall goal, of course, is to help bring these victims justice and awareness to what they've gone through. However, I also want to try to learn from these cases with you guys. I always say that if history repeats itself, then knowledge is key in preventing these, tragedies from happening again. And I just kind of thought, what the hell? If I'm going to be studying these cases, it's always better to study with friends, right? But anyways, enough about this channel. How has your summer been? It has been incredibly hot here in Colorado, so I've just been kind of hiding in my basement. But can I just say that we're not even halfway through the summer yet, and the true crime community, for a lack of a better word, has been pretty active, huh? Serial killers being charged with more victims, a child predator who's now facing the death penalty, and a highly watched and debated upon trial that's been going on for literally weeks now. So, it's totally understandable that some stories could kind of fly under the radar and not be talked about. However, the story that we're going to talk about today is recent, and it shocks me that it hasn't gotten more coverage. I struggle covering all cases that have to do with children being killed by a person that they trust. But this story is about a baby. So heads up, guys, although we're not getting into any graphic details, this story is heartbreaking, and I almost didn't cover it. But then I started thinking, if I stop covering cases that break my heart, then I guess I better just stop this channel altogether, right? Because in a way, every single case that we talk about is going to be heartbreaking. And it's still important that we talk about them. As we talk about addiction, please understand that I'm not trying to judge anyone, or shame them. Sometimes people pick up a drug to help them deal with like a traumatic experience, and then they get hooked and then they can't stop. And now not only is their life forever changed, but so is everyone else around them. And I think the story that we're talking about today shows exactly that. A family that's been destroyed by drugs. The parents in today's story made absolutely horrible decisions that resulted in the death of their daughter. So like I said, it might have taken me a couple days, maybe a week, to process how I wanted to talk about this story with you guys. But I'm here now, and I'm ready. And I hope you guys are too, because today we are taking a trip to Kentucky to talk about how the search for missing 8-month-old Miya Rudd quickly turned into a devastating case involving drug trafficking, abuse, and murder. Grab whatever you're drinking or smoking, and let's get right into it.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
In October of 2023, Miya Rudd was born in Reynolds Station, Kentucky, which is a pretty small town with just over 1,200 people. Miya's mom was 29-year-old Tessa Tucker, and her dad was 30-year-old Cage Rudd. And sadly, by the time that Miya was born, her parents were already living a life that was incredibly unsuitable for a child at any age. Both heavily addicted to drugs, they had actually already lost custody of 3 kids prior to when Miya was born. According to the police, this was due to the drugs and just the basic overall unlivable condition of their home. After Maya's birth, her umbilical cord actually tested positive for methamphetamines, which prompted, the state to start the process of removing her from her parents. But for whatever reason, she wasn't taken immediately, and her parents were able to leave the hospital. And after they left, go figure, social services weren't able to locate them. This all changed when police were informed by an anonymous family member that they hadn't seen Maya since the end of April, beginning of May. So after going to the home, doing a wellness check, a missing persons alert was issued. According to the police, they then located Maya's parents at the Super 8 Motel in Owensboro. Originally, the police said it was the Motel 6 when they were talking in the press conference, but according to court documents, it was actually the Super 8. When the police arrived, they found Maya's mom sitting on the bed next to a nightstand with what they believed was counterfeit Percocet pills containing fentanyl. YouTube hates that word, so I'm just going to refer to it as Fent from now on. So the court documents say that inside her purse, they also noticed a clear bag containing like a crystal substance believed to be meth. Of course, neither parent was willing to cooperate with investigators and told them that on May 1st, the Department of Community-Based Services, or DCBS, had actually removed Maya from their care.
Okay, Shaniqua, we asked you, are you jealous of Takia and Brent's relationship? You said no. The lie detector determined that was a lie.
The police, who had already obviously been in contact with the DCBS, knew that that wasn't true, that they never removed Maya from their care. So the two were then arrested and charged with child abandonment, 2 charges of trafficking a controlled substance, possession of drug paraphernalia, and first-degree criminal abuse of a child under the age of 12. I mean, come on. You couldn't have told him something else. I mean, obviously the police are going to be in touch with Child Protective Services if they're looking for your kid. Also inside the room was 56-year-old Ricky Smith, who is reportedly Maya's grandfather. And I think he was in a relationship with Cage's mom. Drugs were found on him as well, so he was charged with drug trafficking, child abuse, abandonment of a minor, engaging in organized crime, and possession of a handgun and firearm by a convicted felon. But the arrests weren't done yet. Not at all. So after they were arrested, investigators went to the home belonging to Maya's grandparents. And this is a home where Gage and Tesla apparently had been living with Maya. And when they arrived to the home, which is located at 217 Deanfield Church Road in Reynolds Station, with a search warrant, arrests started literally immediately. Because when the police arrived, they actually pulled into the driveway and they saw a man in a vehicle toss some pills that were later found allegedly to be unsubscribed Suboxone underneath the car. And if you don't know what Suboxone is, it's basically just a medication that helps addicts get off opiates. However, under the table, it can be sold as a dangerous way to get high. This man was identified as 37-year-old Timothy Roach. He was then charged with having a controlled substance, and I believe it was having a prescribed controlled substance not in its proper container. So when investigators went inside the home, they found drugs, multiple guns, drug paraphernalia, scales, and stuff that would be used for manufacturing and trafficking drugs. Inside Maya's bedroom, they actually found what they said was within reach of Maya's bassinet was a bag that tested positive for crystal meth, like residue. And then also next to that was some Narcan, which is something that people use in emergencies when somebody is overdosing. But it's obviously something that shouldn't be within reach of a child. Like, what were they thinking? And as much as I want to tell you that when they went in the home, they found Maya and everything is okay and the arrests were done, I can't do that, because the next person to be arrested was Maya's paternal grandmother, Cage's mother, Billy Smith. And she was arrested on just an unrelated domestic abuse warrant from 2023.
So this is truly a case on how illicit street drugs can and will destroy lives and cause the erosion of our community. I think it's fair to say that in order for us to describe what we are doing and conducting today, we need to backtrack a little bit into how this all began. So this particular family that we are investigating, this goes back some years ago, actually. If you're looking through the records with the Department of Baby Services, they had previously removed 3 older children, the siblings to Maya. They removed all 3 based on the conditions of the house. No surprise that drugs is in the forefront of the removal. Those children are safe. They're at a location with family, and they're, to my knowledge, doing well.
So I had to stop it here quick because we now know that the home that Tesla's other children were living in might not have been as safe as the investigators thought. At the time of this press conference, the children were actually being taken care of by their maternal grandparents, Tesla's mom and dad. And I'll return to the press conference now, but just a spoiler alert, Tesla's parents were the next to be arrested.
So Maya was born in October of last year, and social services, shortly after the birth, was looking to as well remove this child. They had no contact with the child or the family, and a family member around the end of April or so noticed they have not seen this, at the time, 6-month-old child. Several months later, our agency was notified by a family member of this, of the Rudd family, and reported that they had not seen this now 8-month-old child since the end of April, 1st of May. Our agency responded. We looked. We were working closely with community-based services. We did locate both parents at Motel 6 on Gates Drive in Owensboro. When we located the 2 parents, no child was discovered. However, a multitude of really heavy street drugs was located at the hotel. That led us to the residence you see behind me, where another search warrant was conducted and more illicit street drugs were discovered in this residence. The parents have not been cooperative in this investigation as to the whereabouts of their child. So today we're utilizing cadaver dogs at this location where we stand. This is 41 Hardin Lane. It's a church, and by looking at the maps you will see a cemetery in behind this church. The cemetery, as well as the heavy wooded area with some ditches. There's a variety of debris that we are seeing in these ditches. These cadaver dogs will be looking in that debris, as well as looking for any type of signs of disturbed earth. But the longer this goes on, the more grim it seems.
So next up to be arrested were Tesla's parents, 50-year-old Talitha Tucker and 53-year-old David Tucker, and they were arrested at their home in Owensboro. According to my research, around 7:30 on the night of June 12th, Talitha was booked into the Davis County Detention Center for being a fugitive from another state, which basically just means that she fled from one state, allegedly, to another to avoid being arrested. But to me, it just feels like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Next up to be arrested was Tesla's father, or Maya's grandfather, David Tucker. And he was arrested on a non-payment warrant. And while they were inside their home, they were seen actually taking out electronics and other items. And as far as Maya's other siblings who were living with Talitha and David, I wasn't really able to figure out where they are now besides being in protective custody. And hopefully Their location remains a secret, and I hope that it's actually a safe place. I just feel really sorry for those kids. And I guess, we could look at the situation and think at least they were taken from their mom before sadly they ended up like Maya. However, I just kind of thought the whole point behind taking them would have been to put them into a safer environment. And, maybe they did. Maybe they did take them from a dangerous situation and put them in a better one. But, I mean, what were they looking for on those computers? Was it drug related or could it have been something worse? And now, like I said, I'm not trying to insinuate anything. These are just the thoughts that have gone on through my head. I did, however, run a background check on Talitha, and she's been dealing with legal issues for years, including possession of a controlled substance and multiple charges of theft. To me, it just feels like they took them from one bad egg and gave them to another. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I get that as a family member, but still, that doesn't change the fact that background checks still should have been done. Home visits should have been done, maybe some school check-ins. The last arrest, as of this recording, was made on June 13th, and that was the arrest of 28-year-old Brody Payne. And this guy is... yeah, he's something else. Apparently, the dude had been living with the Tuckers for months, and allegedly was involved in selling drugs with them. He was charged with several drug offenses, including trafficking controlled substances and engaging in organized crime and the possession of paraphernalia. Brody was also charged with something that is called wanton endangerment, and I think that's how you pronounce it, but I had no idea what that is, so I had to look it up. And basically, wanton endangerment is defined as intentionally putting someone in danger. It refers to conduct that could create a substantial risk of death or serious physical injury. Allegedly, Davies County Sheriff's Department had been investigating him for months. They had found that he had actually been mailing drugs through the post office in Owensboro. Detectives say this is where a canine had alerted on a package that had been addressed to Brody. Inside, they discovered a half a pound of meth, as well as hundreds of counterfeit Xanax pills, which contained fentanyl inside. Investigators say that federal charges will likely come from this. I fucking hope so. Hey guys, and you have to react to something like this online, try to think differently next time. The world has enough hate in it. We should be spreading love, and in my opinion, everyone deserves prayers. Even someone who has allegedly been drug trafficking for a while now, and may have helped to hide Maya's body. At this point, the investigators returned to the home where Maya was last seen, and did a more thorough investigation. The first time they had been inside the home, it was filled with so much dangerous shit, like drug paraphernalia, and apparently that included a box of used needles. So obviously the house needed to be cleared by like a hazmat team. So after that happened, the investigators were able to actually start searching. And sadly, at around 1 p.m. on June 14th, under a pile of debris and trash in a duffel bag, the body of 8-month-old Maya Tucker was found.
New investigating documents released by Kentucky State Police revealed that not only was baby Maya's body found decomposed in the home, but her body was discovered by police in a duffel bag. On Friday, Kentucky State Police conducted their second round of searches of the Rudd property. Forensic examiners joined in the search as they thoroughly went through every part of the home. And at around 1:10 p.m., an investigator discovered a black duffel bag with the remains of a decomposing child. Maya's body was immediately taken by the Ohio County Coroner's Office and transported to the Kentucky Medical Examiner's Office. Along with the duffel bag, police located a plastic bag on the floor of what appeared to be a child's room that tested positive for meth. KSP described the home to be in a neglectful living condition and extremely dirty. There was also drug paraphernalia, firearms, and additional drugs found in Friday's search. KSP says at the residence, a trailer was also found with the VIN number removed. 4 more charges have been added to the people living in the house. The father, Cage Rudd, mother, Tesla Tucker, grandfather, Ricky Smith, and Brody Payne have been additionally charged with abuse of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence, destruction of a VIN number, and failure to report the death of a person. They will all be in court in Ohio County on Monday for preliminary hearings on those charges.
As a mother, I just can't even begin to understand this. During the press conference, Trooper King mentioned, that this is what drugs can do, and they can absolutely destroy lives. And this is where I want to be honest with you guys and say that I've struggled with addiction in my past, and by God's grace, I have been away from that life now for years, but I still remember that feeling of hopelessness of having to rely on something to get you through the day, because without it, you're going to be sick. I've been there. Oh, hi, Zeus. I've been there before. And, when I couldn't take care of my kid, I reached out and asked for help. And that's, what you do as a parent. You protect your child at all costs. So I'm sorry, but I have absolutely no empathy for these parents. So when Tesla Tucker appeared in court on June 17th, crying along with Cage Rudd and Ricky Smith, I didn't feel sorry for her at all. She failed as a mom, so in my opinion, cry. She earned it.
We begin tonight in Ohio County, where the community has more questions than answers after Friday's discovery of an infant's remains. Kentucky State Police found the remains while searching for missing 8-month-old Miya Rudd. As officials work to positively identify the remains, some residents wonder if more could have been done to find the missing baby sooner.
We should have been searching and looking for this missing child. We're processing a drug scene.
Kentucky State Police say the search to find baby Miya Rudd came with a unique set of challenges. Officials say baby Miya was last seen in April, but they were not asked to investigate until at least a month later.
The most important element to any case like this, your first, typically around 48 to 52 hours. We were well behind that, and we knew we had a lot of catching up to make.
KSP says family members, who are usually the ones helping troopers locate the missing person, were in this case, the ones causing delays.
Everywhere we went with this case, it unfortunately netted in some type of an arrest, whether it be drugs or a warrant.
Over the multi-day search for Miya Rudd, there were questions as to why KSP did not issue an Amber Alert. In order for an Amber Alert to be issued, state police say specific criteria must be met. Officials must have evidence that the child was abducted, but for the investigation surrounding baby Miya Rudd, Trooper Corey King says that is not the case.
That tone drops, and you see it on the digital sign. It is legit. It is real. We know this child has been abducted, and it's with this person driving this car. We didn't have any of that information. In fact, we knew the child wasn't abducted.
So that basically brings you up to speed with where we are at now. I think this case is heartbreaking and super disturbing. How in the world was Miya ever allowed to leave the hospital with her parents? You remember her umbilical cord tested positive for meth when she was born. Did somehow they just slip out the side door? I hope that's investigated so at least changes can be made so that doesn't happen in the future. And I know it's easy to blame the system, and I definitely agree that they failed Miya. But in my opinion, there were so many other people that failed Miya. Due to the family selling drugs, I'm assuming that there was a lot of people in and out of their home. How many people saw this environment that Miya was in and didn't say anything? I don't know. They couldn't have reported it anonymously or something. I just feel like as a community, we've got to start doing better. If somebody had reported the situation that Miya was living in, chances are, obviously, their connect would be arrested and the trafficking operation would be busted. However, maybe she'd still be here. And there's a lot of cases that could have ended differently had somebody said something when they saw something. So what exactly stops people? I guess it probably depends on your age or where you grew up. I know that many of us were raised to kind of look the other way if we saw something. There's actually a theory that doctors use to kind of explain this, and this is called the bystander effect. The bystander effect came about in the 60s and basically suggests that people become less likely to help a person in need if there are other people around. A lot of times we see something and think maybe there's a more qualified person to handle it, like a police officer or a teacher. Well, I guess we got to start looking at things differently. And truly, if you see something, say something. You never know. It could save a life. I'm praying that Maya is resting peacefully and that her family faces the consequences that they deserve. And I guess, ultimately get the help that they need. If you're still here with me, thank you. I know this was another long one, but what do you think? Do you think that more could have been done to save Maya's life? Also, if you are struggling with addiction, please know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You can do this. You are strong enough. And once you get through it, you'll always remember it, but you're not trapped anymore. And it's an amazing feeling. But all right, guys, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for still being here. If you like what you see, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It would really help a girl out. But until next time, guys, stay safe and stay focused. Bye.